Hey there, welcome to Technability. I am Berge. We are your source for no nonsense, straight to the point tech. So what we have here are two of the top Android smartphones or smartphones in general currently in the market. Okay, you have the HTC One M8 Developer Edition Gold on the left side, and on the right side you have the Samsung Galaxy S5, the white model. Now both of these are running on T-Mobile's network. However, my SIM is currently in the Galaxy S5. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just turn on Wi-Fi on this sucker right here. So, we can make it fair and have them both on the same network. Okay, so this is the developer edition. This is the unlocked bootloader / unlocked carrier model. You can get this directly from HTC's website for $649. It's the gold model, and we'll go through the hardware in a second. And of course, with the S5, you can finance it on T-Mobile. You can finance both on T-Mobile, but you're not going to be able to get the developer edition through T-Mobile. But you could finance both of them right now. They did have an offer this weekend where it was zero down. I believe about 26, 27, somewhere around there, $27.50 a month on their finance, okay, if you want to do the whole quote-unquote uncarrier plan. Now, with that said, thank you guys for watching Technability. Again, your source for no-nonsense tech. If you already haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a contest coming up this summer where you can actually win the HTC M8. So we're going to be doing a giveaway, a cool contest where you can actually win the M8. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. This is part one of this two-part comparison video. I don't want to do everything in one video because it will take way too long. You guys know that our content is truly in-depth. That's basically part of what we do, is we try to get as much content out there as possible about specific phones, covering every feature so that you, the consumer, tech-savvy individual, make the right decision when you do go out and purchase these phones. So I'm going to give my opinion on both these devices, and we're going to go ahead and get started here with the HTC One. Now, this is HTC's latest flagship. Okay, so this is definitely their cream of the crop right now. Last year, they released the original one. The year before, it was the One X, One S, and Evo LTE. They also released the HTC One Max, which was their phablet iteration of the HTC One last year. Didn't do too well in sales. Did have some nice features on it, like the fingerprint scanner on the rear of the device. But you can see here with the M8, they've gone with that same look and feel. You got the aluminum unibody finish with the chamfered edges. You have the dual boom sound speakers. You no longer have Beats Audio because they're not partnered with HTC, but you still have the boom sound speakers, the 5-megapixel rear front-facing camera, proximity sensors. You have the HTC logo down below. You have very little bezel as far as the screen goes. And speaking of the screen, it's a 1080p 5-inch display, Super LCD 3 with Corning Gorilla Glass 3, renders 441 pixels per inch. And if we go to the rear of the device, you could see the gold model has a matte finish, but if you were to go with the gunmetal gray, it has a glossy finish, and the silver one also has a matte finish. Okay, you can see the rear dual ultra pixel cameras. Don't let that 4-megapixel fool you guys. They're still really good cameras, take really good pictures with a dual LED flash. You have the antenna, HTC logo, of course, and the antenna down below. Very smooth, good, feels good in the hand. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, but it feels premium for what you're going to pay for it. It's definitely got a good feel. It's got a great build. Now, if we were to go over here, you can see the volume rockers with the micro SD card slot, which they have now added. They didn't have that before with the original HTC One, so that's expandable up to 128 gigabytes. On the bottom, you have the micro USB charging port with the 3.5mm headphone jack. On this side, you have the nano SIM card tray. Nano SIM is what Apple's been using with the 5, 5S, and 5C. So that's the smaller SIM, smaller than micro. And up top, you have the IR blaster, which doubles up as a remote control, as well as a few other features, and the power button. Okay, so this phone, in terms of hardware, is running on at least a US iteration, is running on a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 801 processor with an Adreno 330 GPU, as well as 2 gigabytes of RAM. This is the 32 gigabyte model, but again, you have expandable storage, so you can expand that up to 128. You have a absolutely speedy, super fast phone here in terms of what the hardware presents. It's a 2600 milliamp battery, so battery life has been solid, which we will get into in depth. In terms of software, you have Sense 6, which they call the Sixth Sense. And basically, it doesn't read your mind, by the way. It doesn't see ghosts. It doesn't see dead people if you've seen the movie Sixth Sense. But it's got Sense 6 on top of KitKat 4.4.2. So if I was to go all the way down to about, go to software information, you can see right there 4.4.2 with Sense 6. So that's their latest and greatest in terms of their software. Comes with a flurry of features and options. And you can see you have the capacitive buttons on screen. So you have no physical buttons. You have back, you have home, you have multitasking. Now this takes some getting used to if you're not familiar with the buttons down below, with the capacitive buttons. If you're not familiar with the order or the order in which they're set, it's something that you may have to get used to. Now in terms of just an overall feel, the 9.4 millimeter thickness, it's a light, I mean, it's not a heavy phone, but it's not a light phone. It's fairly thin. It's a little bit deceiving because it's thinner on the sides and then kind of protrudes out, similar to the original HTC One. But it's still a thin phone. It feels good in the hand. Can be a bit slippery, but the dot matrix, or any case for that matter, will likely alleviate that. It's definitely an elegant looking phone. I mean, no doubt about it. I have no complaints in terms of the build quality of the HTC One. Viewing angles, let's go ahead and actually put this to 100% brightness. The viewing angles are absolutely phenomenal in terms of color saturation. It's definitely accurate, renders colors accurately. Viewing angles are absolutely phenomenal. There's no washing away of colors when you do view it in specific angles. So in terms of just what the phone offers with the display, Super LCD, it's absolutely gorgeous, very responsive. I mean, this thing is super responsive. You could see it has absolutely, there's no lag, quote unquote Android lag. There's not much, you know, I basically have to just open an icon or tap on an icon. It'll open the app immediately. I can drag an icon into another icon to create a folder. I can move widgets around. So it's very fast, very fluid. Everything is super responsive, super immediate to my touch, thanks to the Adreno 330 GPU, but as well as the 2.3 gigahertz Snapdragon 801 processor. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this aside right here with the M8 and look at the Galaxy S5. Now with the S5, you also have, of course, familiar Samsung build. Obviously, they go with the more plastic light feel. It's a very light phone, very thin phone, 8.1 millimeters in thickness, so it's a super thin phone. And you can see the side bezel here is similar to the Note 3, except the ridges are a bit bigger. But it's similar to the Note 3 in design, but it has rounded edges, a little bit more bezel up top on the bottom, as well as the sides than what you've got with the, say, Galaxy S4. So the bezel is a little larger, but it does have a flurry of features, so there's a reason for that. Now with that said, you have a Super AMOLED 5.1-inch display, 1080p, rendering 432 pixels per inch. It's also Corning Gorilla Glass 3. It's got a absolutely fantastic display in terms of brightness. It's vibrant, it's sharp, it's clear, it's crisp. There's no complaints on my end about this display. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a bit flushed into the bezel, but it's gorgeous nonetheless. You have the buttons down below, which is the multitasking, the back key, and the trademark home button, which is now a bit more round than the, again, Galaxy S4, even the Note 3, which is a little bit more squarish. So you have the round home button. Again, you have the bezel, you have the charging port down below, which charges super fast. Also has the micro USB charging port if you want to use that. You have the volume rockers. Okay, over here you have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, as well as the IR blaster, again for remote control. 2 megapixel front-facing camera. Power button right here. Okay, again, just going around, you got the bezel. Now, the back is different than previous iterations. With previous iterations of the Galaxy line, you had a plastic back. The Note 3 changed that. They made it a bit of a fall leather, and here's no exception. It's got a nice soft finish to it. You got these little dots. You can see the little dots, or the little holes, whatever you want to call them. Galaxy S5 logo, Samsung, and no carrier branding. I mean, I got this directly from T-Mobile, and nowhere on the phone does it say T-Mobile, so I'm really a big fan of that. You also have the absolutely fantastic 16 megapixel rear camera with the flash. You have the speaker right here, which tends to get muffled if you have the device sitting on its back as such. So that's something that is an issue, in my opinion, because I like to listen to music while I'm at work, for example, and I don't want to always have to put my phone face down. But in terms of build quality, 8.1 millimeters, it's thin. It's a bit thicker than the S4, but it's thin. It's elegant. It feels good. It's super duper lightweight. I mean, this thing feels literally like you're carrying air. I mean, it's very, very light, especially compared to the M8. Okay, does the M8 feel more premium? Certainly. You can see the double tapping feature, but the S4 is just so light, so elegant, feels good. You can see the front of the device, the surrounding frame actually kind of slightly goes over the screen. Now the thing is, with the viewing angles, the colors do slightly get rainbowed out, a little bit distorted with that rainbow thing going on, but it's not a big deal. In direct sunlight, it's not that easy to see, but of course, if you just amp this thing to 100% brightness, it's so bright. I mean, let's go ahead and compare, right? You got Super AMOLED and you have Super LCD 3 here, both at 100%. You can see both are very bright, but if we were to just judge based on sheer color saturation and brightness, the Galaxy S5 is definitely the brighter of the two. All right, let's go ahead and ramp this back down to say 57-60%, somewhere around that range. All right, now going through the hardware of the S5, you have a Snapdragon quad-core 2.5 gigahertz 801 processor with an Adreno 330 GPU, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabyte model with external, or this is the 16 gigabyte model with expandable SD storage, a 2800 milliamp battery, again 2 megapixel front-facing camera, 16 megapixel rear camera. It's got an absolutely beautiful software integrated with TouchWiz. It's absolutely gorgeous in terms of what your eyes are going to see. Less bloat and more emphasis on features that people will actually use with the S5 this time around with TouchWiz on top of 4.4.2 KitKat. I'll go to settings right here. If I go to About Phone, you can see right here, if I go to open up software update. Let's just go home here. Go back, About Device. Status. Where's software? There we go. Android 4.4.2 KitKat. Okay. So know that about it, this thing is super fast, and they've added a lot of other features such as the fingerprint scanner. You have the heart rate monitor. We'll get into all that in a moment. So they've added a few other things that they believe people are going to use. Again, the buttons down below you may have to get used to because they took the menu button out and they've replaced it with the multitasking button, which used to be accessed via the home button. So that's different now. But in terms of just overall build quality, both are absolutely gorgeous devices. Both are definitely, they definitely have their pluses. They definitely have, well, I don't think they have many minuses, to be honest with you. I mean, in my opinion, both these devices are definitely elegant in their own way. It really depends on whether build quality matters to you. You can see them both. If I put them on top of one another, you could see that the M8 definitely looks a little bit thinner, but it's not. It's 9.4 millimeters versus 8.1. You can see the bottoms right next to each other. The bottoms. Okay, again, the M8 looks thinner, but it's not. It protrudes out in the center. If we were to just look at the back. Okay, and then just go kind of rotate to the top. You can see the headphone jacks up top on the Galaxy. On the one, it's on the bottom. Okay, you can see the sides here. Go look at this side. So both are definitely nice in their own way. It really depends on what you're looking for in your cup of tea. Okay, but in my opinion, you can't go wrong with either of these devices. You can see in terms of measurements, the one is slightly bigger, but the S5 is slightly wider. It has a slightly wider display, 5.1 versus 5 inches. Okay, now if we were to look at both software, again, different, the same Android KitKat, but different philosophies. You have Sense 6 here, you have TouchWiz here, but in terms of just overall functionality, both are very similar. You have the notification bar, of course. Both have access to the quick settings panel, which on both devices you can customize. If you just click here, it's actually in the same location as well. You could customize the quick settings panel. With TouchWiz, you can actually add toggles on the notification bar. You can see that right there. So you can adjust these toggles as well. You have a variety of those. Whereas with HTC Sense, they don't have the toggles in the notification bar, which really isn't that big of a deal because you could just access the quick settings panel with 2 fingers, or you could just click up top and customize this to your liking. So really, in terms of notifications, they're the same. I mean, if you take a screenshot, for example. Okay, let's take a screenshot there. Let's take a screenshot there. You could see now both of the screenshots are going to pop up right here in my notification bar. Very similar. You could pinch them in, pinch them out. You could share them, edit, delete, etc. So you could swipe it away and it's gone. You could just clear all. Same here. If you get a bunch of notifications, you could just clear all. So in terms of notification centers or notification bar, they're similar because they're both KitKat. They're both Android for that matter. All right, let's go ahead and look at the lock screens on both. Now the difference between the Galaxy S5 and the HTC One is this fingerprint scanner that they've actually activated here. So let's go ahead and actually turn this on. So fingerprint lock is turned on. All right, now with the HTC, you have a double tap to unlock feature. Okay, you can just swipe up or you can double tap, and basically that's similar to what LG has been doing for quite a while now with their lock screen. Iteration of their overlay, is that you could just double tap to unlock the screen. HTC has done something similar, so you could double tap, you can unlock. If I go to the right, you see it takes me to blink feed. If I go to the left, it should just take me to my home screen. Or of course you could just swipe up to unlock. You also have the widgets, access to the notification bar. Okay, you also have access to shortcuts, which you can customize those shortcuts, as well as Google Now. And you should have access to your camera as well. Well, you can just adjust these shortcuts, set them up to whatever you'd like. You can see the weather widget and whatnot. So I could just swipe over add widgets, and I can just unlock it by doing that. Very simple, very easy. Now Samsung, what they've done is their lock screen looks slightly a bit different from previous iterations of TouchWiz. Okay, now of course you have access to the notification bar. You can see it asks me to swipe my finger to unlock it. So let me go ahead and demonstrate this. And again, you do have access to the camera as well. So if I just swipe down, you know, I've had issues with this thing, to be honest with you. It recognizes it eventually, but really I'm more of a fan of just, you know, swiping to unlock. But if you want to be secure, obviously the fingerprint scanner is there. It does work for the most part. All right, let's go ahead and put my password in here and just disable that, because I don't want to have to do that every time I put my fingerprint, or every time I lock the screen here. But in terms of just overall usability, I think just swiping to unlock is my cup of tea. Again, you could put a passcode, you could use a fingerprint, however you like to do it. Now again, even the lock screens are similar, I mean, in terms of what they do. And you could even see layouts. I mean, of course, my layouts are always the same on phones, but just in terms of software layout, you could see I have the lock screen, I have the widget, the weather widget, the clock widget, as well as my row of icons. I always have my phones looking the same. Even if I was to go to the second screen, you could see folders. All right, you could see the icons individually. So really, it's a matter of how you set up your phone. I have two screens. I have Google Now on the second screen, which I utilize. And you could just do OK Google, and you can see Samsung will recognize that. OK Google, well, you know, of course, I'm already in there, so I would have to say OK Google. But you could see both are very similar. I mean, even though they're different, they're similar because they are both Android. Now, if I was to, say, want to just add a home screen, I could just simply pinch in, and I can go here on HTC and just add a panel, and it'll add a panel for me. All right, whereas with TouchWiz, again, you also pinch, and you just basically push that little plus, and you've added a screen. So there I go, I have a new screen. I can do infinite scrolling here. Over here I have this bouncy, you could set up different transition effects on both, but you have a inertia effect when you get to the end. But in any case, they're both very user-friendly. Creating folders, I think, is a bit better, or a bit more user-friendly on the HTC, because all you really have to do is just take an icon and drag it into another icon. Of course, with both of them, you do have the ability to move a widget around, which will automatically realign your icons. Whereas with TouchWiz here, if I want to create a folder, like I can't take my contacts and put it in the internet. I could if I've already created a folder, but what I have to do is I have to actually go here where it says create folder, and then do it like that, which isn't a big deal. But I've always felt like one thing they should do is just create give us the ability to just drag an icon into another icon to create a folder. It would make things so much easier. And you could adjust the folders, the color schemes, and whatnot. You could do that here as well. Or no, you can't do that here. Okay, I'm confusing that for LG. But you could see you could adjust the color schemes on the folders with Samsung TouchWiz. I'm going to just go ahead and remove that here. Scroll back down, and again, if I was to pinch back in, you can see where it says home screen settings, transition effect, so you can adjust the transition effect. I want to do card stack. You also have My Magazine, which is almost like Samsung's iteration of Blink Feed, right? Blink Feed is if you were to swipe all the way over here, Blink Feed, you could set up custom feeds. You can add your own custom feed if you want. You could add all sorts of different news aggregators and feeds, whatever it is that you're into, you can add it here. It's real simple, real easy to use. It's actually quite user-friendly. It all constantly keeps you in the loop of things. So Blink Feed, in my opinion, is useful, and if you don't like it, you can always just remove it by just long pressing here. And you could set it as home, or you could just remove it altogether. All right, so going back here, My Magazine, very similar as well. I'm not a big fan of it personally, so what I usually do with My Magazine is disable it. But you can see I changed the transition effect now. I have a card stack. If I want to change it back, just go back to home screen settings and just click on none. So, you know, they do have their multitude of customizations, both of them. Android has always been known for customization. Samsung is usually a bit more in-depth when it comes to customizations. HTC, I think, has stepped up slightly in relation to their customizations with Sense 6, but the nod still goes to Samsung because they offer you a bit more in terms of what you could do with the OS without having to download, you know, custom launchers or flash custom ROMs or tweak your phone. So that's something that I think is cool. If you go to settings here, you can see the difference between the settings. HTC, very simple, right? Black and white. You know, you got the color schemes here. It's purple, which you could change if you were to simply go to themes. So you could change the theme settings and change the color schemes if you'd like. Whereas with Samsung here, they've gone with this whole colorful circles thing, and you could minimize certain things. Like if you don't want applications to show, you could just minimize it. You can maximize it. If I click on the three dot, you can also do list view, which still stays colorful and true to that form, but it's a little less imposing. I can go back to tab view here. Okay, you can see tab view, connections, device, etc. Let's do grid view. Now we're back here, and you can also do edit quick settings. Okay, you could remove things, add things, whatever you want to do with your settings. You can also search. If you're a bit too confused, you could just do a search for your settings. Whereas again, HTC has gone a bit more simple, but both have a multitude of features. Fingerprint scanner, you have a variety of different wallpapers on both devices. You can see if I go to HTC wallpapers, home screen wallpapers. Now I got to give it up to HTC here. They've definitely put a lot more wallpapers in terms of what you get with the wallpapers. They're more high quality. They're better looking, I think, than what Samsung gives you here with the TouchWiz. Even though TouchWiz's wallpapers are bright and vibrant, I felt like they could have given us a few more high quality wallpapers. HTC really hit a home run with this right here. And of course they both have their live wallpapers theme. You could change the theme here on HTC Sense. So, again, both are pretty much, again, I want to go back and use the word user-friendly, but really it is. I mean, everything's right there for you to see. I mean, with HTC, it tells you what these things are. Personalized, you have backup and reset, accessibility, display and gestures, for example. You could change the font size, the font style. So, you can see right here, it says Helvetica, what does that say? LCD default font. You could get more fonts online. You have font size if you want to make it bigger, text smaller. Over here, same situation. It's a bit more cluttered with Samsung, but it's all there. If you go to display, you got screen timeout. I don't know why that's on 10 minutes. You got auto adjust screen tone, LED indicator, touch key light duration, which this clearly doesn't have touch key lights. You have font as well, so you could change the font style and the font size. So Samsung has that as well, and you could download more just as you could do on HTC. Media gesture, motion launch gesture, so quite a few features on both. I mean, in terms of settings, the download booster, you have quite a few new things that they've added that you could adjust here with Samsung, but same goes with HTC, just definitely not as much. Boom sound now, it's no longer Beats Audio, it's now boom sound. So, both are, again, in their own ways, very unique. Now, basically, I want to get into all the other software features, including the camera, gallery, and all that good stuff, and we will in part 2. Part 2 is really going to emphasize on the camera and all that good stuff, but we're going to go ahead and just look at video quality here, game quality, and we're going to wrap it up with part 1, and then I hope you guys stay tuned for part 2, where we cover the camera and all the other important good stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the same video here on both devices, both on the same Wi-Fi network. Turn down the volume on the HTC here. Emphasize the S5. Both on HD. Hey guys, welcome to Technability. I am Berge. We are your source for no-nonsense tech. Thank you guys for watching. If you already haven't, subscribe to the channel. Fast forward, rewind, obviously all that good stuff. And of course here with Samsung you have multi-window and all that good stuff as well. So if you do multi-window, you also have toolbox. So it's of course you have the notification bar, which you can just really true multitasking. You can see you have the toggle. Toolbox just opens up a new app. And of course you have multi-window, which you can also utilize for multitasking. So I can have a multitude of different windows open and whatnot. And really, this is true multitasking on a phone. Let's go ahead and look at the video quality here on the HTC with sound. As the Galaxy S4, the Galaxy S3, so it does feel good. It's almost got that Note 3 like fall leather feel, but it's soft. It's a different finish. It feels good in the hand. The phone is definitely a bit wider too than the Galaxy S4, even though the Galaxy S4 is a 5-inch phone. This is a 5.1, but it's a little bit wider, so it's got a good feel. Okay, now in terms of just the overall design of the device, it's 8.1 millimeters, so it's fairly thin. It's a little bit thicker than the S4, but not by. Alright, so basically if you're in the app and you want to multitask, both have their respective multitasking keys. You can see that right there. You can see that right there. Oops, go back to multitasking here. Alright, you can just swipe icons away here, just close them all out. Same here, just swipe them up or close them all out. So it's simple, easy multitasking. And again, I have multi-window open here. I'm going to go ahead and actually just turn toolbox and multi-window off. Air view, air feature, all that is added there as well. Alright, let's go ahead and just do some quick speed tests here, opening and closing apps. Okay, we'll Pandora's going to play in the back. Speed test.
YouTube. 1, 2, 3, my baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure. But does she really wanna, but can't stand to see me walk out the door?
Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and open the Play Store. Alright, that didn't really work out well. Maps. Gallery. Okay. Let's open their WebKit browsers here. Okay, and again, clicking on the multitasking key, just close out of everything at once. Okay, swipe all these notifications away. Wi-Fi calling is on. Let's turn Wi-Fi calling off. Alright, now let's go ahead and open some games and see what games look like and run like on this thing. We'll start with NBA 2K14 at the same time. Okay, we're just going to cancel both. Cancel them both. They're about the same in speed. I think HTC is a slightly, a hair faster. Very bright on both phones, but the Galaxy is a bit brighter. Again, the brightness levels are about the same. Can't really play this with, I guess that's it. Let's go ahead and exit out. Exit out. Alright guys, so we're going to cover a lot more in part 2. We've already gone over about 25 minutes, which I didn't want to do, but we did because both phones are so fantastic with so many features. So stay tuned for part 2 where we're going to cover more games such as Walking Dead. We're going to cover Crazy Taxi, some other apps, benchmarks, the cameras. You can see the camera softwares, the gallery, and all that good stuff. So we got a lot to cover here, guys. Stay tuned for part 2 as we do. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching Technability, your source for no-nonsense tech. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Google+. Thank you guys for watching Technability. Stay tuned for part 2. Have yourself a good day.